Hey everyone, welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us as always, AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you live from right here at the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California, and we are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
Also here, AMC Movie News Production Manager, Jenna Zen.
Hey everyone, I'm trying to find out where I'm at right here.
And also here, AMC's Christian Harloff.
I'm somewhere. I guess I'm right here. What's going on, guys?
I love that shirt, by the way.
Thank you.
Tatooine summer
Trying to go to Tatooine this summer. I'm sure we're going to go back there.
Two sons of fun. Hey, listen, folks, before we get started here, just a couple of quick things. And I should let you know right at the top here that we are going all Twitter questions today. A lot of times we don't have enough time to get to the live Twitter questions for you guys who are watching us live. So you can start tweeting your questions right now if you want to @AMC Movie News. And Ashley is going to be collecting those questions. But before we get into it much longer, one of the most anticipated films of the year is obviously the new Hunger Games film, Mockingjay Part 1, which is hitting AMC theaters here. And you may not know, but we are having a Hunger Games marathon on Thursday, November the 20th, starting at 2 p.m. The Hunger Games marathon begins. Head on over to amctheaters.com/events/Hunger Games Marathon. We're going to put a link to that in the description, and you can get all your information about which theaters are participating and how you can get your tickets. You can get a collector's lanyard, a collector's poster for it, all for participating in this marathon. And we want to share with you a new exclusive 30-second spot for Hunger Games containing a few things in it that you have not yet seen from the movie so far. So let's take a look.
Everdeen, it's the things we love most that destroy us.
They're coming, Katniss.
Peter is the Capitol's weapon. In the same way you're ours.
No one can survive this.
We must fight back!
The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1, rated PG-13, in theaters November 21st.
Once again, the Hunger Games Marathon is on Thursday, November the 20th, culminating in, of course, the brand new film. Once again, head on over to amctheaters.com for all the information on that. Now, before we get to the Twitter questions tonight, something pretty cool happened. As many of you know, I do an Arrow after show, and last night on our Arrow after show, we had the star of the show, Stephen Amell, the Green Arrow himself, in studio to talk with us for over an hour about the show. But why that's interesting for us here today on Movie Talk is that we got into a little bit about the Warner Brothers announcement, the concept of the DC Cinematic Universe versus the DC Television Universe, and what his thoughts were on all that. And I want to share with you Stephen Amell's comments, and then we're going to discuss them here for a minute. So here, check it out. This is about 3 or 4 minutes long, but here's Stephen Amell comments on the Cinematic Universe of Warner Brothers and the announcement in its entirety for that. So here, check it out. I want them to be separate because I don't want Steven Guggenheim's I don't want their hands to be tied by whatever's going on in the movie universe. I want them to have the complete creative freedom they've had up until this point to do whatever the hell they want to do, because that's what's given us such great television. But what, as the performer in it, what is your take on all that?
Oh boy. Are we live? I thought that the way that Warner Brothers announced the slate of DC movies could have been handled better. And I think that someone like Grant Gustin, who has just launched an iconic character like the Flash to record-breaking numbers that far surpassed Arrow's numbers.
But that was thanks to your show.
Yeah, for sure.
All that being said, I think that he should have been given a wider berth than 2 episodes before another actor was announced to play his character. All that being said, that's because I'm protective of Grant, and that's because I think that producing 23 episodes of superhero television is more difficult than producing a feature film.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
And it's 23 episodes again and again and again and again.
Right.
And as Peter Roth says, for 12 years, oh God. But I've never seen a need for the television side and the feature side to cross over. This is nothing that I haven't said before. I'm pretty sure, but you know, I'm sure that Ezra Miller will do great as
He is wonderful. He's a wonderful actor.
as the Flash. And if they found a great Oliver Queen, fantastic. And I've had some great chats with people at Warner Brothers. Again, I thought that the whole timing of the announcement, the most important day that you can ever have as a television show is when your ratings come out for your second episode, not your first episode.
Right.
Because anybody can be trained to watch a pilot.
Right.
It's the people that come back when they haven't been inundated with advertisement and they decide, I watched this show a week ago, I'm gonna watch it again because I enjoyed myself the week before.
Right.
The call that I got from Peter Roth, who runs Warner Brothers Television, the enthusiastic call came after episode 1, and then the absolute awesome, let's go 12 years, baby call came after episode 2.
Right.
So I thought that it was shitty that all of this stuff got announced the morning that the ratings, the spectacular ratings of the second episode of The Flash came in. All that being said, everyone wants to judge things immediately. The plan that Warner Brothers has, and it's a wonderful plan overall, and DC has for the introduction of the Justice League of America and all of these standalone films, it's going to take place over the course of 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Right? Who's to say what's going to happen? I mean, I've had some great conversations with Jeff Johns, who runs DC,
Right.
or who's the chief creative officer at DC. Diane Nelson runs DC. And we had these conversations shortly after these announcements were made. And I came away from the conversation feeling great.
Good to know. All right, so a couple things stand out to me about that conversation talking about the DC Cinematic Universe. Number one, I disagree with Stephen. I don't think one season of television is harder to make than a feature film. That's just me. But one of the things he brings up in talking about, the timing of announcing the new Flash just on when the second episode of the television Flash comes out, that kind of suggests to me, although Stephen wasn't saying this, I'm just inferring this, that there's a little bit of a disconnect at Warner Brothers between their television and their movie universes, and between the creative departments of the two things. It seems like the left hand isn't talking to the right hand very much, which just kind of reaffirms to me that they don't have a lot of plans to cross them over. I thought it was interesting. He said, some people on the television side, himself included, had issues with that Warner Brothers announcement about the full lineup. But then near the end, he says, look, I talked to Jeff Johns. There's a lot of years between now and the end of their 5, 6, 7-year plan, and who knows what's going to happen. All he said was that I came away from that conversation happy. So he didn't spill what was going on. But Christian, you hear comments like that. What do you think is going to happen in the DC Cinematic Universe as far as it relates to the television universe as well?
I mean, you and I were talking about it off air, and Stephen pretty much said it as well in the beginning there, was that with the announcement of Ezra Miller, it kind of cancels out that we might see that crossover at all with anything. And if it doesn't, then it looks sloppy, because if you didn't do it there, why are you going to do it with Stephen and make it just becomes odd and confusing for fans. And I've always been on the opposite side of, I think, everybody at this table. I thought it should be in a shared universe with cinematic and TV, because I think for a guy like Stephen, who the fans have obviously embraced as well, and I understand your points to where you want to separate the two, but don't you think it would be cool in the DC Cinematic Universe if if he was the Green Arrow and he popped up because of what he's done with the character, and he pops up in the Cinematic Universe as the character that you really love, as opposed to somebody that, let's say they don't get somebody that's great as Green Arrow, and you say he's not as good as Stephen. You're going to compare him regardless in your head, even if you don't think it cares that much. You will have that thought, and I just think you could have eliminated that thought.
No, I don't think that.
You don't think so?
I really
you don't.
don't.
Think you're ever going to compare the two when you're watching
No,
them?
you know why? Because they're both going to live in such different worlds. Like the world we're getting in the DC movies is temperature and tone-wise is a very different universe and a very different world than the world that I watch on television every week. And therefore, when you pop somebody into that movie universe, it's going to be, the contexts are so different, right? So it's going to be difficult. Now, I'm not saying other people won't say exactly what it is you're bringing up. I think there are going to be people that feel that way. I know that for myself, though, it's not the case. Dennis?
I think I will. If there's Green Arrow in the Justice League or later down on the line in DC movies, I will compare the two. I haven't watched I'm not caught up on Arrow, but I've seen 6 or 7 episodes, and I like it, and I like Stephen Amell as that character. The question is, when are they going to bring that character into the universe? Because if it is later on, maybe it's a possibility that they bring him over. Even, let's say, Arrow's done as a television show, and they just like bring him in, even if it's not the exact same character, and he's just an actor playing that character,
Right.
that could work. But if they want to bring it in like a few years from now, I'm pretty sure Arrow's still going to be on the air, and then that's kind of where it gets a little tricky, because then he's on the TV show, and on the movie, and then those universes don't really connect.
What about, as some people online have suggested, what about like a Crisis kind of storyline? What about like a multiple Earths kind of storyline where realities get crossed and you get television and movie? They're actually 2 separate universes they cross. Is that too confusing? I know the comic book fans would love it, but is that too much?
For mass audiences, yeah. For comic book fans, no, because they'll get what's going on. But someone who just going to check it out, like, wait, what? Are we watching Interstellar again? What's going on? And so you know what I mean? It's a matter of you got to keep it simple, especially when you're establishing a universe.
Yeah.
Whether it be your DC universe, TV universe, or your cinema, you've got to keep it simple in the beginning, because it's a build, as we've seen in the past with what Iron Man ultimately did for the Marvel universe. We're hoping Man of Steel does that for DC. I cannot wait for Suicide Squad and the other ones, but you got to build.
All right, folks, well, I said for the majority of the show, we're going to take your Twitter questions for the day, and we're going to do that right now. By the way, you still have time to get in some Twitter questions. Tweet to us at AMC Movie News. Ashley, what have you started us off with today?
First off, Dylan McManus writes, is there a foreign film that you would like to see as an American remake?
Ooh, one that I haven't already... Man, I mean, for a long time, the longest time I wanted to see Infernal Affairs, but then they gave it to us. Some of the great classic horrors, especially the Asian ones, we've seemed to have got them now. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo was one that people wanted for a long time. We got it. I honestly don't know if there's any at the top of my head right now that I have any fantasies I've yet had fulfilled as far as foreign films I want to see North American remakes with. Space Battleship Yamato. Yeah, I want to see Star Blazers. I want to see Space Battleship Yamato as North American. There were talks about it. I heard announcements about it, but I still haven't seen any movement on it. But that's one I want to see a North American remake of, still very, very firmly, very, very solidly. What about you guys?
I mean, for me, I think there's a lot of smaller films that I actually need to educate myself on, too, that could really make it to American remakes. I just don't like when they do ones that have crossed over, like when they're doing The Raid or The Raid 2 and stuff, where they're going to make a remake of it. I don't think that's necessary, because it's gone to a crossover. And some of these smaller films don't. People just don't want to read subtitles. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
I like reading the subtitles. I like finding new stories. I actually wish I was a little more educated, like I said before. But that's not to say that sometimes there's not a great story that can't be told to mass audiences that the director and writer really want to get out there, and it should happen more often with smaller stories.
One film, it's not like I want them to make a remake, but I figure not enough people have seen it, and they're not going to see it because it's a French film, A Prophet. I don't know if you guys saw that. It's basically like kind of The Godfather, but set in prison. It's like the rise of this one guy who comes into prison and, you know, rises through the ranks. So if they made a remake of that, and I don't think it would be as good, but I think it would draw in an audience and reach a bunch of people who would not watch the French version.
All right, what's next?
Zach writes, do you guys think Liam Neeson likes the current direction his career is going with Taken-like action movies?
If by direction you mean successful, sure. Yeah. I think he's having a great time.
Sure, his bank account likes it.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that, and I mean, look, who doesn't want to be an action star?
And an older action star. What he's done and what Denzel have done, not a lot of people in history have done. The only reason Stallone and those guys were able to do Expendables because they had done it in the past. That wasn't what Liam Neeson did. And he was able, when he did Taken, you go, that guy is such a great actor. Mm-hmm. He scares the hell out of me. Yeah. And he could, just from being on the phone, you stop what you're doing and you do good, just from having a conversation with him on the phone. And yeah, so why wouldn't you do that? Because he still is able to do whatever else he wants to do acting-wise, and now he's looked on as a badass. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
He is, make no mistake, Liam Neeson is a giant of a man. He's a big man.
6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, I remember the first time I interviewed him was for The Gray. And I went in, and I remember he reached out to shake my hand, and I shook his hand, and I realized his hand just enveloped mine.
Like
it's like a glove, man.
Yeah.
His hands are huge, and he is equally just a huge man. And you combine that with his voice. That's one of the most intimidating voices on the planet right now,
and
right?
that's the thing about him, though, too, is that he can switch that like that and make you feel at ease. Like when he does, like either the Qui-Gon or whatever it is, he just has
Good
that.
cop, bad cop.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, everybody!
And then he's the perfect guy to play that because he could just go into that his serenity, his voice at some point.
Yeah.
But then, if he wants to flip that switch, you're like, I'm sorry. How would you like to really actually be dating that guy's daughter? It's like, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm good.
You know, originally they were gonna have someone else voice Good Cop for a Lego movie, and and then he's like, no, I want to do it, and then so he did that
that's awesome.
weird voice. Yeah, I'm sure he's happy, and like you said, I'm sure his bank account is very happy.
Right.
But he's also doing so many other things. I mean, he did Lego movie, and he did. What was it, A Million Ways to Die in the West? You know, he's working a lot.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So I like the direction that his career's going.
All right, what's next?
Kyle writes, love the show. What are some of y'all's favorite Disney movies and underrated Disney movies?
Well, I mean, Disney movies for me. This reminds me, we're gonna have to do our Madness tournament for animated films pretty soon. We did the Madness tournament last. I guess we're getting close to a year ago. I can't remember how long ago it was for the superhero films. We're gonna have to do one for animated. I go back and forth a little bit, but always in the number one spot is one of a couple of films. It's either Beauty and the Beast, which to me is just so good, or Lion King. I mean, I think those are my two favorite all-time animated. As far as underrated, I've said this one before. I will say it again. Secret of NIMH.
Oh, yeah.
Although I can't remember off the top of my head if it's Disney film or not.
Disney,
May not be Disney or not, but I don't care. Animated, underrated film. Secret of NIMH. If you haven't seen Secret of NIMH, and you want to see like really bold, adult-themed storytelling in the context of a child's anime, see Secret of NIMH. So cool. I don't know. What about you guys?
If we're going Disney, I'm usually the only person that takes this as their favorite, and I'm okay with it. And that's the Alice in Wonderland. I love nonsense, and I love the Mad Hatter. Mustard, let's don't be silly. I love the Mad Hatter. I love all of that stuff, and it was just
also voiced by Liam Neeson, by the way.
Yeah, he was. It's true, and he was before the phone actually. And but they just had that one as a kid. It just always spoke to me for some reason. I love that one. I love Aladdin is another one too. I thought that was the first time that you really heard about a voice actor getting almost talked about for an Oscar with the late Robin Williams. And if we're talking about just animation in general, the 1986 Transformers movie. Thank you very much.
At first, when you said Alice in Wonderland, I was like, really? That one? I was thinking of the live action one. I was like, what's wrong with you? No. I mean, for me, I think Ratatouille and Finding Nemo are two of my favorite Disney movies. I mean, I have to think back of it. Beauty and the Beast is one of them.
Ratatouille, Pixar?
Yeah.
Owned by Disney.
Oh, you're owned by Disney. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess that fits.
Yes,
what would you think would be a really underappreciated animated film that you could think of off the top of your head?
That's tough. I'm trying to think of all the Disney movies.
All right, well, let's come back to that later. Let's move on to the next Twitter question.
Randall Workman writes, hey guys, love the show. What's your favorite holiday comedy? Mine is a tie between Christmas Vacation and Love Actually. Thanks.
Took mine.
Really? Are those
Christmas Vacation?
Why does that stand out to you?
Christmas Vacation is just one of because the European Vacation was an okay sequel, but then they just came back in full form, and it was Clark Griswold at his best, and just all the nonsense going on and the back and forth. The comedic timing when Chevy Chase was at his best, it was in that movie. And the dynamic, and I loved how they just changed Rusty all the time, and his age changed, but yet he just knows what his dad can do in the scene with the eggnog, all the stuff. I can just go talk about that movie forever. I love it. And Christmas Story is a movie that I can watch over and over and over again. But those are my favorites.
Mine, other than like the television animated stuff, like Rudolph and Frosty and all that kind of stuff, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yeah. I can watch that over and over and over again. I love that movie, and it just so that would be mine. What about yours?
Does Die Hard count
as a comedy?
I guess
it is Christmas Story. Probably It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah. That's a classic that I can watch over and over. I remember seeing it for the first time. I mean, there was a point where they were showing that on every channel, like all through for like 2 weeks during Christmas.
You never have to worry about finding it. You always find that in Christmas Story. They're just playing all over there somewhere.
But then eventually, I think it was at NBC or one of the main channels had bought up the license for it, so only they could show it. But yeah, I love that movie.
All right, what's next?
It's me, Mark writes, who do you think will die in Age of Ultron?
I mean, we've had that question asked several times. It's look, everybody's just assuming somebody's going to die.
I don't think so.
And I don't think we can just operate on that assumption. It's certainly possible that somebody key might die, but I mean, some people think it might be Vision. Some people think it might be one of the twins. I doubt any of that. They're not killing off Chris Evans, obviously.
Right.
They're not killing off Tony Stark, obviously. We got Thor 3 coming, so they're not killing off Thor. I think they got plans for Black Widow. We heard Kevin Feige tell us we've got plans for Black Widow, man. So it ain't gonna be Black Widow. They got plans for the Hulk. They said Hulk is gonna be a key figure in the cinematic universe move forward. So it ain't gonna be Hulk. So
I think it's gonna be Hawkeye.
You think he's gonna actually die?
I think someone's gonna die. It's Joss Whedon. He loves killing people. If you watch any of his TV shows and his movies, he just kills people. I mean, look at Serenity. He kills some of the most popular characters. Oh, you haven't
I
seen
haven't
it?
seen it yet.
Oh, my gosh.
No, I know.
Okay, and so I think Hawkeye's probably the perfect candidate. I mean, they don't really have much for him to do, and I don't know. I kind of get this weird feeling that Jeremy Renner just isn't that interested in the role.
now Kurt Sutter, who runs Sons of Anarchy, was directing Avengers: Age of Ultron. They'd all die. They would all be dead by the end of
Hawkeye's probably the most likely, although I don't think he's going either. I think, especially from the Civil War thing, they're going to use everybody that they can. If Hawkeye's going to die, I think he's probably going to die in wherever we go with the Civil War, because that's where you got to start killing people off. When the Civil War, there's got to be tragedy, there's got to be consequences, and they're really building that storyline and building up. I think there'll be, like you said, I think if one of the twins goes or somebody newer, that's okay. Set them up so we care about them in the beginning, and if they die at the end, we still care. But as the main characters, if it's going to happen, it'll be Hawkeye. That's it.
See, if it is going to be any of them, and I'm not convinced any of them are going to die. I think Vision and the twins are being set up for future Avengers films. I think they're going to be Avengers as we move forward. So then it becomes a process of elimination, right? Like we already said, well, obviously it can't be Thor because he's got Thor 3. It can't be Captain America. We got Civil War. It can't be Iron Man. We know it can't be Mark Ruffalo's Hulk because Kevin Feige said they got plans for him. We know it can't be Black Widow. All we're left with is Hawkeye, and I would be okay with that. Or Nick Fury.
But
Actually,
they just teased that though. If they do it again, it's like, they just teased it in Winter Soldier, and now they're going to do it in Ultron. It's like, either kill him or don't.
I don't think so. I think Sam Jackson likes that role, and
I think so. He's gonna be
other
around for
than
a
I
while.
think Captain America 2, he didn't have a significant role in the rest of the movie. He shows up for a few days of shooting and gets a paycheck and then takes off.
You made all that effort about bringing him back. He's got to show up in Civil War.
Yeah.
He shows up for a few scenes, yell in this, really a tad outraged and annoyed voice of somebody. What are you doing?
Right.
And then that's his role. He gets paid. Yeah. So okay, what's next?
BJ writes, is Meryl Streep overrated in your opinion?
What? What?
No.
No. There's some things you don't say. You don't say ice is warm. You don't say the sun isn't hot. You don't say Meryl Streep's overrated. Right. No, she's a deity, and deserve not just one of these things. Oh, everybody just accepts she's that, but when you really look at her, it's not really all there. You can't look at her and her work and not see she is one of the top 2 or 3 greatest of all time.
I think what it is the fact that because every time she's in a role and she's so good, she gets nominated. Yeah. So people are just like, oh, they're just nominating her because it's Meryl Streep. And it's like, no, it's because she's that good. Every time, even if you don't, Osage County wasn't the best movie, but she's incredible in the movie. So every time she's out there putting out the performance, she comes to play. She's like one of the great athletes that just, even if she's on a bad team, she comes to play. So she's one of the best.
She takes even a movie like Devil Wears Prada in a role that's typical rom-com type of thing, and she delivers in that role.
She turns it into a serious taken film and delivers a performance that's like, okay, I buy this movie simply because of her performance.
That's like saying Daniel Day-Lewis is overrated.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, what's next?
Micah Mouse writes, when do you think we'll be getting our first Fantastic Four trailer?
Here's the funny thing about Fantastic Four. When's it coming out? May?
No, they pushed it, didn't they? Pushed it to August. They pushed it to the end of August.
Well, I'll let you answer the question first, and while I look up the date.
Yeah. Do I think we'll get a trailer for it if it's coming out August of it's 2015 or 16? I think it comes out August 2016. So probably it's just a matter of that release date. If it's August 2015.
August 2015.
It is 15.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you're right. They did bump it to August.
If it is August 2015, then I would assume probably in the beginning of the year. I'd say somewhere like January, February, maybe is when we'll get it. I think that I don't think it's ready yet. Wouldn't be shocked if it popped up in December, but I don't think so. I think we're probably going to get it. Probably going to get it in February.
Let the whole Christmas, holiday season pass.
And Star Wars is going to have their trailer. Let them own that, and then let that come out in February.
Also, what's the next biggest Fox tentpole
Right,
movie that's
right.
going to come out that they can,
Attach
get
it to.
people. Yeah.
Well, here's the funny thing. Like, I'm one of these guys where people ask, my goodness, why haven't we seen a trailer for Batman versus Superman yet? It's like, it's a year and a half away. Like, take a deep breath. And people for a long time saying, why haven't they shown us anything from Fantastic Four? And I've always said, calm down. It's still like a year away. Everybody relax. I mean, just think about it. Avengers just dropped their first trailer, and that movie comes out in May, right? But even I have to admit that considering this is a reboot again of a franchise that has failed in the past, and that there are a lot of question marks, personally, I have a lot of faith in this Fantastic Four film. I really do. I like the casting, I like the writer, I like the director. Doom is going to be a computer programmer. Okay, that you got me there. That's kind of weird, but overall, I kind of believe in this. But even I'm like, okay, you do have to start putting things out to start turning that tide of public displeasure about the film. You got to start putting it, and the fact of the matter is, we're not a year away from it anymore. We're in November now. We're almost in December.
Right.
So I hope we see something before the end of the year.
Like
I really
even
do.
like a teaser poster or image or something, because I mean, you got Batman v Superman. That's not coming out till what 2016. We've seen at least the Batmobile. We've seen Batman's suit. I mean, at Comic-Con, people got to see a clip. I mean, Fantastic Four, something. A logo.
Yes, but what Josh Trank, we all agree, is a pretty good filmmaker here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what he is doing, I'm sure he was paying attention when this news of Doom popped the other day and the fans weren't going crazy over it. They have to be very protective of what they're going to show. If they rush anything, if they put something out just to appease the fans, that could end in a backlash, just like the news that popped out about Doom or whatever, too. So by putting together the best possible trailer, he's into it. He is ready to go with this thing. He's behind it, and he's passionate about it. I trust in him as a filmmaker that we're going to get it with enough time to really market and push it, and I'm guessing like February.
Here's the thing. I actually believe that we film fans are easily romanced by appearance. So like a character could be a terrible, terrible character, but if a still comes out of that character and he looks great, suddenly everybody's going to go, oh, this is going to be awesome. That's what we do, right?
Batman,
Unfortunately.
with Batman,
right, yeah. Everybody's complaining about Ben Affleck,
Right.
and then the picture comes out of him in the Batsuit. Now everybody thinks everything's going to be okay. What could have been smart when Keppel leaked out that information that, okay, his name's Drokashev or whatever his name is, he's a programmer, an antisocial programmer, blah, 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 and everybody's against that. I feel like all you have to do, if you're Fox, is pick one really good kick-ass still image of Doom and put it out, and everybody will be satisfied.
It's like the Zack Snyder,
like
Bryan Singer model, what they've been doing over there.
Yeah, but I think they're worried though of the opposite happening because you had remember when they showed that one picture of Magneto before First Class, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, he looks so stupid,"
Right.
and then
Seen in
Quicksilver.
context, right?
Quicksilver for X-Men
Yeah.
Days of Future.
Great point.
We talked about how
Yeah.
stupid it looked,
Yeah.
and he was awesome in the
Yeah,
movie.
that's a great point.
All right, what's next?
Lucas Novo writes, do you think the Adjustment Bureau is underappreciated?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't love the Adjustment Bureau. I think it's one of those films that have a lot of really cool high concept ideas, but it didn't sink its teeth in and really grab me as an audience. So I thought it was an okay film, but I don't think it's under.
They sold that film the wrong way.
Yeah,
the
they did,
film was
yeah.
sold in the trailers like it was like another Dark City, or there was something kind of really, and it was a love story, which is fine. But I wish I would have been. Like, I was so disappointed when I saw it in the theater because I was expecting something different. It is actually a really good film, and it just was sold in such a different way than my expectations were. When I watched it again, I think it's a better movie. Do I think it's super unappreciated? No, because I still think that in the beginning, it's something that it ultimately turns out not to be. But it's a good movie. I really think it's
And
good.
this is the Matt Damon, Emily Blunt
Yeah.
movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. I didn't care for it. I think the ending was too, shoehorned in there.
Yep.
And so I was like, yeah, I didn't care for it. And I liked the trailers for it because I remember watching the trailers and
Right.
oh, this looks awesome. It's going to be trippy. And then when I ended up watching it, like you
story.
said, I was like, nah.
All right, what's next?
Brock Emmerich writes, do you all like blooper reels? I love them personally. If you guys do, which movies is your favorite? Mine would be Liar Liar.
Yes, I love blooper reels. I really do, because blooper reels, when they're not contrived, because some movies have faked blooper reels, but when they're not contrived, I feel like I'm actually getting a look into the window of what's actually going on set, right? the old Burt Reynolds films, like Smokey and the Bandit and stuff like that, they have insane blooper reels. Like just some of the best stuff is incredible. So whenever I think, those are the first ones that come to my head. What about you guys? Can you think of any memorable blooper reels?
Horrible Bosses, the first one was pretty good. With Jason Sudeikis doing this, just coming up with some of the lines in the improv and watching those guys go back and forth. I remember liking that one when I saw it in the theater.
I probably like that more than the actual movie
yeah.
itself. Blooper reels, yeah, I love blooper reels as long as they're for the appropriate movie. You don't want to see a blooper reel for like There Will Be Blood or something like that, because you'll make you think.
That would be hilarious, though.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious, but then you'd be, when next time you watch the movie, you'd be like, oh, you couldn't take it seriously anymore. But the best blooper reels, and it's not a specific movie, it's Jackie Chan movies. You watch any of his blooper reels because it's all like physical stuff.
He does stunts. Jackass.
Yeah, and he just like eats it, and then he gets up and he does it again, and it's a whole lot of fun.
You know, speaking of Jackie Chan, I was actually going to say, I am more than not a fan of Chris Tucker. I actually don't think he's very good in films. But that being said, I did like him in with Jackie Chan. Rush Hour 2. Yeah. I didn't like him in 1, didn't like him in 3, didn't like him in
Silver Linings Playback is right.
But you know what? The blooper reel on Rush Hour 2 and maybe even in 3, I find Chris Tucker hilarious. Like, and I never do. I never find it. But on blooper reels, there's something like, I just wish he could kind of harness that stuff I see him when he's not thinking this is going to be in the movie and harness that, because I find him hilarious in blooper reels. I really do. All right, what's next?
Devontae Brown writes, what things ruined the Matrix sequels in most people's eyes, and what things were good about them?
The movies ruined them.
The rave scene, number one.
Yeah.
I mean, that was terrible. I remember watching it. I'm like, what is it? Are we watching the right movie? Because they're making something else. Colonel Sanders, that scene when Colonel Sanders.
I thought terrible. I thought that could have been the Keymaster. I thought that could have been
the architect.
The architect. The architect. I thought that was the execution. Everything, the writing of it was just done so poorly, because I actually thought that could have been cool.
Well, the idea of it is fine.
That's what I meant. There's so many great ideas that the execution was just done poorly, because I thought the twins were awesome characters.
The twins were great.
But they just kind of...
No, but I mean, the idea for the two Matrix sequels, the concept is great. Same with the prequels for the Star Wars. It's the execution that matters, and it was just terrible.
Monica Bellucci.
I'm one of the few people... Oh, Monica Bellucci. Anyway. Yes. I'm one of the... part of my mind has gone off to another place. Right. Anyway, I'm actually one of the few people who I enjoyed the second Matrix. I did. I love the twins, that epic car chase thing where they built like they couldn't find a highway to shoot on, so they built a 3-mile highway and did all their own stuff. I actually appreciated it. I didn't like it as much as the first one, and then even in all of my enthusiasm, I couldn't get myself into the third one at all.
That was the problem for me, was that the second one, I said, okay, if the third one really delivers, then the second one could make a little bit more sense, and then I could go back and revisit the second one and say, this really is something great the way it's playing into this trilogy, but the third one was so bad that it, to me, diminished what the second one was even trying to do. And then I just said, maybe it just didn't. That is the definition. I had this whole thing on Twitter about what a cash grab is, and someone said everything's a cash grab. That's not true. When movies are,
I believe it is, but anyway.
All right, that's another conversation. but in regards to this movie, to me, the 2 and 3 were about ching 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 and just ching ching ching, and not really developing the greatness and the effort and time that was put into the first one.
You know what? I think the problem was actually a little bit opposite, because when I watched the first film, and I'd like to know your impressions of this. What I see is like very cool, imaginative sci-fi, right? Yeah. With a little bit of elements of, pondering the human predicament and asking real existential questions and things like that. But it was, at its core, it was a sci-fi film, right? And a really good one at that. What I found was that the filmmakers almost got a little bit, the brothers got a little bit into themselves. And as we moved further away from the original film, they got further and further away from making cool sci-fi to making, let's make everything this psychotropic kind of study about the multiple layers of reality and blend. Right. They started getting more and more into that area, and it's like, you aren't doing this right. You aren't doing this well. And for me, it kind of fell apart at that point. It seemed like they wanted to get... They bought into their own diet.
I don't know what the cave rave has anything to do with any of that stuff.
I agree with that point as far as the Wachowskis went, because they probably in the writing, but you also, let's not forget about the studio at that point and the producers, to where they're going, no, more. Yeah, let's do that. Let's make it bigger. Let's do it.
See, I didn't mind the cave rave so much, except I remember watching the cave rave and thinking, So everybody in Zion is just barely over drinking age, and they say like suddenly everybody in Zion was 21 years old.
The animation they did beforehand was awesome.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty
yeah,
great.
what, the Animatrix?
Yeah, the Animatrix. I wish that they would have continued with those
That
types
was
of
cool.
stories.
It was
Those were
all
really cool.
different types of animation and different stories.
Yeah, and it played into actual canon.
I like that much better than the next two movies.
All right, folks, that will do it for us for this installment of AMC Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, and, of course, your movie ticket information. And one of those movies coming up is, of course, The Hunger Games with our Hunger Games Marathon, Thursday, November 20th. Make sure you go over to amctheaters.com for all the information in participating theaters. Don't forget, if you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. And don't forget to click the thumbs up button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I want to thank, first of all, the guys sitting at the table with me, sitting right here, Mr. Christian Harloff. Christian, where can people find you online?
It's pretty easy. Just go to Twitter and type in Christian Harloff and check me out on Instagram. Same thing.
Of course, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero or on Instagram, dennis.tzeng.
And, of course, our lovely host today, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you online?
Twitter, Instagram, at Ashley Mova. Happy Thursday, guys.
And, of course, you can find me on the various social media networks just at John Campia. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. My name is John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.